whenever I'm working in the city centre, because it's a more public space in the sense that even if it's quite anonymous and people pass through, it's give you a bit more freedom or comfort or a sense that you have a personal history and connection in that place, so it's okay for you to do something. So we're quite happy to go down and challenge the courthouse, because you know who you're dealing with. You're dealing with an institutional space, or we used big square grass outside the waterfront and we played croquet on it, and then we got thrown off it, and the security guy from the waterfront actually used the words that this is pretend public space, because we said to him, well, it's public space, and he's like, no, it's pretend public space. So sometimes, if there's certain associations with the type of space, you can do even very simple slight actions to highlight that, or start with stuff like the bakery. It meant that because of the action, sort of sharing food, if you were cooking with people, it's a very natural setup for conversation to happen, and also for, as people are standing around drinking their coffee, conversation happens with each other, and it's not that everything has to be directed or mediated through me or Anne-Marie as the artist. It's more creating these situations where something unplanned can happen, or so it's just sort of situations where people can play, and that can be a good way to get a very sort of serious point across, but in a way that's not pretentious, or it's not off-putting or condescending. It's not like we're here to tell you. So I think you'd keep an eye out in the news for different sorts of things are happening, or looking at places that are being redeveloped at the minute would be something, or different bits of public art or things like that might be going up. We'd look out for things like that as a site, or that's a possible place where we could go do things. And I think the city centre has been, at certain times of night, the city shuts down, and it's been this non-space that everybody kind of emigrated out of, and now things are all trying to relocate stuff back into happening in the city centre. So I think at this time it's an interesting place for artists and other people to have their sort of say and use that space the way they want to use it, and then that sort of sets the meaning, instead of it just being purely shopping, hotels and car parks, which is quickly becoming, and quickly trying to emulate every other city instead of learning from the architectural mistakes that were going on everywhere else during the Troubles. So I think something that was a bit more diverse and an openness, but not in the sense of that everything, not like a bland centralism. It's not alright, everything's great and we're all going to be the same now and there'll be no disagreements. Disagreement, that's what makes it vibrant, but you have to debate these things instead of just smoothing over it. And we're in a period of smoothing over and an applied amnesia of difference, that we're supposed to pretend now all of a sudden that difference doesn't exist, because difference is the past and it's bad, but it still exists there and it's still affecting everything that we're doing. So I think what the city needs is more of an attitude change, and a change in the type of people who are making decisions, because if Laganside Corporation is supposed to be what public art is, we really are in trouble. Whereas things stuff like having the Festival of Fools, to walk around for those few days and just have stuff happening all over and really using the space of the city, and something like that was brilliant. But I mean, they're having to get people to sign a petition because they mightn't exist next year because of they're completely dependent on funding and donations. So it's that things like that exist should be encouraged, because they're what makes the city interesting. In Belfast does, like at festival times a year, because you've got the Cathedral Quarter, you've got the Queen's Festival, the city does come alive and become somewhere interesting, and somewhere that, say, if we were visiting, then there is stuff to do, and then the rest of the year you're a bit sort of stuck, you're limited. But I think people need to use that frustration as incentive to go out and do their own thing, instead of getting stuck down and bogged down in complaints about how this place is crap and the decision makers are awful and there's no money, and it will do what you can with what you've got, and then still complain so there's change, because there still needs to be pressure put on people for change.